Hey, what's going on, guys? Mike here from Mike's Horror Channel. Now that the high from Halloween Kills is finally over, I wanted to go ahead and put up a new Halloween franchise ranking video. But before I do that, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button and also hit the bell. That way you know every time I post a new video. Okay, so at this point, it's safe to say most of us have probably seen Halloween Kills. It is November 2nd as of this recording, so hopefully you've seen it. If not, go ahead and watch that. But I wanted to go ahead and make a new ranking video. I made one about a year ago around this time, and that was my first post to my horror channel. So I'm curious to see how my list has changed. So I didn't go back and watch that old video. So I just put a new list together based on having watched everything, all 12 movies between Friday and Sunday Halloween weekend. So let's get this thing started. So coming in at number 12 is Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. I'm pretty sure that has not changed from my previous list. I hated everything about this movie. One of the big deals for me was seeing his face like flat on in the camera. And I know I've talked about that in previous videos. Would it ruin it for you? I've said it wouldn't ruin it for me because of the way it's being done now, right? In David Gordon Green's timeline, it's I like the way they're handling showing parts of the face, and it's much scarier the way they're doing it. I didn't care for the way that Rob Zombie did that. I didn't care for the half mask. I didn't care for him walking around with the jacket, and I think at one point he was even carrying a bag, if I remember right. That was weird to me. I wasn't a fan of the part two Laurie Strode, the punk rock. I don't give a fuck about anything anymore. I get she would have a lot of psychological damage after what happened in part one, of course. I guess it just strayed a little too far for me, and I know Rob Zombie didn't really want to make that film to begin with, and it shows. So it wasn't so much the story, it was more the Michael Myers character, it was the Laurie Strode character. Dr. Loomis was fucking comical in that movie. There's times I could watch it just to be entertained by Loomis, not because it's a good movie. So coming in at number 11 is Halloween Resurrection. I'm sure that's no surprise. That's pretty low on probably everyone's list. I know it has its base, its fan base. I'm not in that fan base. So, I mean, there's things I like about it. I thought the actor that played Michael Myers did really well. Just his movements, the head movements, stalking, that type of thing. I think he did very well. The mask was weird to me. It had weird fucking eyebrows, and again, that's nitpicking. My biggest issue was Laurie Strode being killed in the first 8 or 9 minutes of this movie. From that point, it was just downhill from there. Once you lose Laurie Strode, then what's the point, Especially if you're going to have Laurie Strode in the movie. It's not like Halloween's 4, 5, 6, where there's no Strode. So you have the expectation going into the movie that there isn't going to be a Laurie Strode. This is a different main character. But in this movie, Laurie Strode's there. So if you kill her in the first 10 minutes, to me, it's pointless after that. I didn't care for any of the other actors in this movie. I didn't care for the plot. The whole reality show thing was weird, and the whole world is pretty much watching Michael Myers. It was weird to me. Busta Rhymes, probably one of the worst actors I've ever seen, and I hated the trick or treat motherfucker right before beating the shit out of Michael Myers. So Resurrection, number 11. It's only slightly better than Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. So coming in at number 10 is going to be Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. Again, we're going back to the mask. I think I'll always start there with the mask. One of the biggest annoyances for me was if you watch the end of part 4, he falls into the mine shaft wearing one mask. Halloween 5 picks up at the same point. He comes out of the other end of that mine shaft wearing a completely different mask. Like, where the fuck did he get that? So that right there kind of threw me off. I won't say it took me out of the film. Of course, it was only the first, few minutes of the movie. But the mask it's awkward. It's there. You notice it. Every time you look at it, you remember the previous movie, and it just doesn't make any sense. I like the original opening. I was very excited to see the Ultra 4K version of the Dr. Death opening. I didn't care for it after I saw it. I waited so long to see that opening scene, and it didn't do anything for me. So I kind of like the original, or the what they decided to go with for the theatrical much better. Of course, we get the introduction of the Man in Black. We get the thorn symbol on his wrist. We're starting to go down that deep slope of what the fuck is going on here, which of course over the course of the next few movies doesn't get any better. So you got the Men in Black, you've got the Thorn cult, and you've got Jamie Lloyd, who's mute at this point, and eventually gets her voice back. She's got psychic abilities and can see what Michael Myers is doing, where he is, and it really just takes you out of it, especially coming out of part 4, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But 4 was great, and then you've got whatever this was, this very rushed piece of shit. As a Halloween fan and purist, of course, I go and I watch this shit all the time, right? I'll sit and binge all the Halloween movies, no matter how bad they are. Number 9 for me is going to be Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Originally, I wasn't going to include it because there's no Michael Myers. It was meant to be an anthology series, so it was going to be a completely separate story. But at this point, I just kind of wanted to include all 12 movies. So this is kind of more of an honorable mention because I do love Halloween 3, and I hate putting it at number 9, so low on the list, because I love it as its own movie in its own right. But number 9, I won't get too far into that. Number 7 for me is going to be Halloween, which was, of course, the 7th movie in the franchise as well. One of the big things for me in this movie was had a great story. It felt like outside of the original and part 4, this felt like the most natural Halloween sequel that we have gotten in a while. It's just, we had Jamie Lee Curtis back. We had Josh Hartnett, his introduction into movies in this film. And the story was just really good. The hallucinations that Laurie Strode had and seeing Myers everywhere, it created the suspense that we were long missing from the franchise at that point. One of the downfalls for me was there were so many different masks. So they had that really weird looking white mask that just didn't look anything like Michael Myers, and they started to film in that mask, and then Mustafa Akkad saw some of the footage, said, we can't do that, you need to reshoot this entire thing with a new mask. So they did that, and then there were scenes that they shot without the mask, and so they digitally imposed a mask onto the actor's face. What the fuck? And then I believe in the opening of H2O, during the Marion Chambers scene, that's the Halloween 6 mask they're using in the opening. So we got 4 different masks if you count the digital as a mask. So that just really threw me off. But the masks aside, I think Halloween H2O was a really good effort. Best sequel we had in a while up until that point. Number 6 is going to be Halloween 2018. This was a return to form for the franchise, at least for me. I know there were a lot of people out there who either loved it or hated it. There doesn't seem to be an in-between for most people. I loved it. This to me felt the most like Halloween. It felt like the original movie, like the way James Jude Courtney plays Michael Myers, his movements. The mask was about as close to the original mask as you can get. Of course, they aged it and changed its color and everything. So, but that's natural, right? 40 years of sitting in a box, that would happen to a latex mask. So that made sense. The mask looked great. The acting was great. I thought the story was really good. Laurie Strode, of course, is back as Laurie Strode, not as, what was her name? Tate in H2O. So it was a better story. Number 5, believe it or not, coming in ahead of 2018 is going to be Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. I know I'm going to get a lot of heat for that one. I put that one so high up on the list because to me it's one of my favorite sequels. It's not a great sequel by any means. It's not the best story. The ending was a little shaky, but it felt a lot like a Halloween film to me, at least. Kind of like H2O did in a sense. It had a fall feeling, like everything about the aesthetic of that movie. The opening scenes, you really get that feel that they're in Haddonfield. You can see the fall colors. I love the mask in that movie, believe it or not. I'm a big fan of the Halloween 6 mask. I like the way that the actor played Myers. I believe he's the same one for part 4. Did a great job in playing Myers. So number 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. All right, coming in at number 4 is going to be Halloween Kills. I really wanted to put this one higher on my list, but the rest of this list just makes a little more sense to me. Definitely one of my favorite sequels in the franchise up until this point. We'll see how Ends goes, but Halloween Kills, the most brutal Michael Myers we've seen. We keep James Drew Courtney in the role, so that's perfect. Best Myers since Nick Castle, of course. I love the brutality of Myers. I love that the entire Strode family. I thought Karen was the biggest standout character of this movie. Aesthetically, I love the colors. I love the way it was shot. It felt like a Halloween film. The story was just good. So Halloween Kills coming in at number 4 for me. Number 3 is going to be Halloween 4. I believe last year I might have put that in my number 2 spot. I think I have to go back and look, but this year after watching everything all together, Halloween 4 is going to be in my number 3 spot. Believe it or not, I am a big fan of the Halloween 4 mask. I know it looks nothing like any of the original 1978 or the 1981 Halloween 2 mask. Doesn't look anything like those. It's even as different as the Halloween 5 mask, right? They're completely different. But something about that mask to me it's scary in its own right. It's when he sits up from the side of the bed, that lightning goes off. I remember the first time I saw that, I was like, holy shit. It scared me. So that mask, I love it. And it made sense, right? He didn't just show up wearing this mask like he does in most films. Most movies, by the time we see him, he's already got the mask. We don't know where he got it from. Halloween 4 makes sense of it, right? He's been in a coma for 10 years. He wakes up out of the coma when he finds out he has a niece. He's bandaged up. And then he he makes his way into the convenience store and steals the closest thing to his mask, which is the one we end up with in part 4. So it makes sense that it's not the same mask. He just got one that was close to it. At least that's the way I look at it. And then in terms of the story, closest thing to the original Halloween, Halloween 2, in terms of scare factor. I love the way he stalks his prey in Halloween 4. I love the final girl in Halloween 4. I love Danielle Harrison in this movie. She did a great job both times, even in part 5 for what she had to work with. But Danielle Harris was awesome. It's just a good story. It felt like Halloween. That's one of the big things that I look for, that it feels like a Halloween movie aesthetically when I look at how they shoot the film and the types of color they use, the fall leaves on the trees, and I want to feel in that headspace that it's Halloween when I watch a Halloween movie. So that's kind of one of those things that was missing from Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. It's one of those things that was missing from part 5. Even H2O, of course, because their intent was for it to be in California. You knew it was California, so you didn't really get that complete Halloween feel there. But Halloween 4 had it all for me. And then coming in at number 2, I think we all know where this is going. It's going to be the original Halloween 2, 1981, not Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. This movie, it's the best sequel in the franchise. At least at this point, the way I look at it, it's the best one. It didn't feel like a different movie from part one, right? Because you remember Halloween 2 picks up where Halloween 1 left off. Well, it's shot by the same cinematographer, Dean Cundy, or director of photography. You had John Carpenter. So just everything felt fluid, right? As soon as that movie picks up, you felt like you never turned off the previous film. So it feels like one fluid motion. Everything looks good. It feels like the same movie. And of course, the actor playing Myers didn't quite nail the walk. He had a much slower, creepier walk, which to me was a good thing. I actually wish he would have had that in part one. I love the walk that Myers had in part two. It was creepy as shit. I love the story. I love that, going into the hospital and trying to find Laurie Strode. I wish she was in it a little bit more. I wish she had more of a role other than just laying there and crawling and running and not much dialogue for her, right? I wish she had a little bit more of a role. But I love the story. I'm a fan of the brother-sister storyline. I've said that before. I love the new David Gordon Green timeline where she's not Michael's sister, and we're still trying to understand the whole purpose, which is great. But I am a fan of the brother-sister storyline. I'm a fan of them taking it to the next step with part 4 and going after his niece. And then part 6 going after Jamie's baby. So I'm a fan of that storyline. We never got a real resolution as to where that was going or why, but I liked it. And then no surprise here, Halloween Part 1, 1978. It's probably the same for every one of us, right? For the most part, 1978, the original Myers mask. We had Nick Castle. We had Michael Myers in his true form, stalking and, just killing for no reason. One of the things I love the most about the original 1978 film was we didn't know why. We didn't know why Michael Myers was stalking these teenage girls. We don't know why he wanted to kill Bob. We don't know why he went after Laurie Strode. We just don't know. And of course, Halloween 2 solves that, but I'm a fan of it both ways, right? Because you can watch Halloween 1978 and then leave it right there and don't watch anything else after that. And it can just be its own film, which is what it was intended to be. You can continue on, watch part 2, and watch them together, and it's basically one long movie. And I love that too. So however you want to go about it. So that's my list. Everyone, let me know what you guys think. Well, how would you what would your list look like? Where would you put Rob Zombie's Halloweens? Where would you put Halloween 2? Is Halloween 4 an acceptable sequel to you? What do you think of kills? Let me know in the comments. Give me your list below. I definitely would love to read it and respond to you guys, and let's have a conversation about that. And I'll see you guys in my next video.